Hi, my name is Eliza Drotar, and welcome to Animation on the Spectrum. I am your host, Eliza, and I am on the autism spectrum. I'm here to kind of break down was it like being on the spectrum, and what are the things that sometimes people misunderstand, and what people can learn from. And I do have a guest with me today. Today I have the lovely Amber Jones. Please introduce yourself. Tell us about what you do online.
Hello, I'm Amber Jones. I have been a good friend of Eliza's for how long have I known you again? I can't remember. I feel really bad. But
No, it
more than a
it's a couple
year.
years,
Yeah. Two
like
years
2 years.
this year. Yeah, wow. How do I think about that? But yeah, my name's Amber. I'm 19. I'm on the autism spectrum, just like Eliza, and my special interest is mainly voiceover, along with cartoons like kid shows and anything amusement arcade machine related, so claw machines or corn operated rides, and also art. I love art as well.
Well, thank you so much for joining me on this. I really do appreciate your time and coming out and sort of diving into this very odd and kind of niche world.
You're welcome. I'm always happy to talk about or the autism spectrum with anyone.
So, first off, you kind of talked a little bit about it. You talked a little bit about yourself and your special interests. That is something that some people don't entirely understand about special interests. We have seen online and in media things like The Big Bang Theory or Love on the Spectrum, where special interest is usually pretty condensed into a person's character. Like they become that one dimensional, almost stereotype in a way. You know, when you see characters on TV like Sheldon Cooper or even like Donatello from Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you'll see that they're kind of just most people see them for just their special interest in something like science or mathematics. When you see that and then you tell people that you're on the spectrum, how do you deal with that sort of stereotype being sort of put upon you?
Well, it's really hard to answer, really. But the best answer I can give is that a lot of people know me for the coin operated rides that I've filmed over the past few years. And when I upload new content, that's what people expect from me now. So I'm forever typecasted with the kiddie ride world. And my interviews, I'm trying to get them out a bit more, but I think people will always forever associate with me with anything to do with arcades. And I don't want people to see me as Amber, the arcade coin operated ride girl, or the claw machine girl or anything like that. I want people to just see me for who I am, what sort of person I am, because I'm not just focused on that. And it may look like it's one of my direct special interests, but I also have different areas that I focus on. So like the artwork and the voiceover and like the making content for my YouTube channel, and also performing, because I'm actually a stage performer. I have performed in a few theatre work. I've done theatre work for my college. I do perform a lot, quite a lot for that, and I want to be known as more than one person, just not like Amber, the amusement arcade machine person. I just want to be, known for different things, And seeing it on TV, it's really weird how people just can just judge someone based on what their own special interest is. I hope that answered your question. I probably
I
didn't say it
mean,
too well.
no, no, it's great. It's great. Honestly, this is meant to be more of a discussion than
I'm afraid
anything.
of big
I mean,
words.
it's okay. You don't have to. So what would that be? Hippopotamontrocyclodectophobia?
Ah. Yeah, it's just very hard for me to use, and when I just hear them in my head, and I'm just thinking, ah, it's like, yeah, it's because it's so,
No, I
yeah,
totally get it.
like, I mean,
It's
yeah.
fine.
So what you were trying to say is, what do you think of the TV media focusing on autistic people, like their special interest overpowers them as a person, right?
Basically.
Okay, I get it. Sorry, my brain's like I
I
think it was
over
getting
explain things.
frazzled and stuff like that. Sorry, it's not you, it's just how my head works.
People on the autism spectrum have a different way of processing the world, and processing words is just one of those things. I happen to be slightly better at it than average people. I have vocabulary that people would sort of qualify as exuberant. Well, I mean, definitely. As someone that grew up thinking they were neurotypical, it was definitely really different because I wasn't really allowed to have accommodations. People would consider that as getting some kind of like extra, you don't really need that, but you're going to get it anyway. What's the point of that? So it was a little bit difficult. I got diagnosed around my 20th birthday. I was out at an amusement park with my family when I got the actual diagnosis. And it was both one of the best moments and one of the most like downtrodden moments I'd ever had because I didn't know how I was going to be able to sort of explain it to people. For my family, they saw it as a disability, pure and simple. The only experience they had had are the various stereotypical characters like Sheldon Cooper, or they have people from Autism Speaks, which is a US organization that sort of treats it like horrible disease that no one should ever have, and that anyone that deals with it has this horrible life that just can't be fathomed, and the parents have all these horrible things that they have to deal with, and that just isn't right. They see it as black and white. You either have it or you don't. They don't see it as a spectrum like we have all learned how to see it. And it was sort of traumatic almost when I revealed to my father what it was like because I didn't know what he would think. He always saw me as like the gifted kid, so seeing me sort of look almost worse, it made me worry. But then looking back, they're like, wait, you did have special interests. You absolutely loved cartoons and voice actors, and you loved watching shows like Animaniacs or like Phineas and Ferb. Like, you had some of those traits. You do have some issues with loud noises or surprises. You don't like schedules changing. Looking back, they started realizing it, but because the people back in the day when we were really young didn't have the same information, it was a little bit harder to diagnose. And I think part of why I wanted to make this podcast was so that way people can learn what is really happening from real people's experience.
Yeah. And with me, I unfortunately didn't manage to slip past through the senses because I was diagnosed at the age of 4, I think. But the way I experienced it, it felt like I wasn't diagnosed until my late childhood stage, so like when I was 11 or 12, because my parents obviously didn't tell me that I had autism because I wouldn't have understood. But growing up, I always knew I was the odd duck in the pond, and I was bullied, and I did things differently to everyone else, and I found it hard to cope both socially, emotionally, mentally, and physically. Um, and I found out more about autism when I was about 11, and that's when I realized, so this is what my life has been. This has been the umbrella I've been living under this past 10 years. Well, no, not 10 years. No, that wouldn't be exactly 10 years, would it? 7. That's it. Yeah.
I'm not a numbers person either, I get it.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't studied maths since I left high school, since COVID, because I passed English and maths when I do at college. So, yeah, it's just really just, I'm just using my fingers to count.
Fair enough.
I aced in all subjects in primary and high school. I was quite gifted. I was quite a gifted student back then, and I had a passion for art. So I got a GCSE in art, and now somehow I'm studying acting. Don't know how that happened, but it's an alright course, I suppose. I mean, I'm leaving this summer to properly focus on voice acting, and also maybe I might go ahead and do an arts course at college because I'm going on a gap year this summer for a year to see basically. I'm going to discover what my life is all about. I'm going to find out what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life, and I'm like, I'm not ready. I'm really not ready. I'm terrified.
No, I completely believe it. And you kind of led into the next topic of discussion. Your special interest means a lot to you, obviously. You have done a lot with it. You've built this sort of online persona with it. And how much do you think of your special interests are going to be involved in your future career?
A lot, because one of my biggest ones is voiceover, and I have my heart set on being a voice actress, and I have for about 3 years. I have been doing voiceover work. I've done one for a corner bracelet ride. I've done one for a theme park ride. I've done interviews with a lot of voiceover folk, and I've met some of them as well, as you could probably not tell already by my back wall. Well, when I say back wall, I mean my wardrobe. So yeah, it has heavily influenced what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. I mean, next year I even have a trip planned out to America to see most of these people who I've been hanging out with and stuff like that. And it just excites me because you never know what's going to be hiding around the next corner. And these people who have really just, when I'm having a bad day, I think about all these wonderful people, and it makes me happy. It really does. It's like, it's magical.
I completely understand that. You and we actually kind of found ourselves on a very similar trail around the similar time, and that's how we met. Both of us want to go into voiceover. We both have a passion for these voice actors. You've been able to sort of act on it a little bit more, starting your own personal interview show in conversation with, and that has been phenomenally successful thus far. Interviewing some of the greatest voiceover people from our generation, and just kind of like everyone's childhood, you get to talk to those people, and it's really inspiring, honestly.
Thank you. I appreciate those kind words. I mean, it's really weird to see people think, like, say, oh, they're my childhood, but it's just very hard for me to say they weren't my childhood. I know it's very hard for me to say that, but growing up in the UK when we had kids shows that were imported over from America, because like on Nick Jr. or Playhouse Disney, they were all dubbed by British actors or British voiceover actors who are still going today. But yes, I did manage to, maybe tune into Disney Channel or Cartoon Network or Boomerang, and did hear some of these guys in action. And I did grow up. It's basically a mix, really. And also, ever since I've kind of moved from sort of like the British voice acting industry, like being obsessed with like the British side of it, to being obsessed with the American side of it. It's like I find it easier to talk to American voice actors. I don't know why. It's just when I talk to a British voice actor, like even if it's for an interview or just like over social media, it's kind of like they won't understand my craziness. But when I talk to someone from the States on an interview, they oh my gosh, we have such a great time. And it's really fun. And it's just one thing about people from America is that they love the British. I don't know why, but they will always say, "Oh, I love your accents." Oh, or I didn't realize you were British. I'm like, well, that's cool. That's cool. I'm very honored and flattered. Usually, I'm the one who should be honored and flattered that I'm talking to such a person like you.
I completely understand that. I have very little sort of like vocal inflection when it comes to anything like accent, as I am from Colorado, where basically the only accent we have is we don't pronounce certain consonants in the middle of words, which just sounds like lazy American to me. But nonetheless, it's always interesting hearing these people who will learn about all these different inflections and tones and accents just to basically get like a paycheck and make other people happy. And it's such an interesting concept to me because that would usually be a what we call stims in the autism community, where we are self-stimulating, and it gives us kind of an opportunity to get back into what we're working on instead of just relaxing on our phone for 10 minutes for a break. Sometimes we'll be moving around, we'll be making weird noises. There's all kinds of different things that could be stims, but for me it was practicing accents. And looking back, that probably should have been a dead giveaway, but it wasn't apparently. So now I kind of look at it, I'm like, there's a career opportunity now involving something that I just do to make myself happy. And I think that's really cool. And I think it's even more amazing that someone at your age is getting such fantastic opportunities to work with amazing people, either through interviews or through your work in the amusement parks, or even what you're going to be working on later in independent projects. It's quite amazing stuff. And if there's any stuff you want to plug for that as well, please go on ahead.
Well, there's really much I could say about the theme park one because I'm still under NDA because it's not supposed to be opening until next year. It's really hard to say next year because I'm thinking we're in 2022 and I'm on about 2023, but no, I'm on about 2024. So I'm still under NDA for that. So I can't really say much about, well, I mean, I can if I wanted to, but I mean, the ride's plot's under NDA, but I don't even know anything about that. I mean, I'm just a voice actor for the ride, and I'm really just going to see it as soon as it opens. But I had to do 4 different characters for that. So 2 American characters, 1 Scottish character, and 1 British character. So it was a thing of experimenting with different accents. And one of them I was actually I was brought in as a sound alike, and then I slowly thinged the character into my own. Whilst also taking inspiration from the original performer's portrayal of the character. The other one, the corner operated ride that I've been on about, oh man, that is very hard to. It's a very long story. Well, it was I put out of production because the company folded due to COVID. This was right before COVID, by the way. There's a new company now that have recently gotten the rights to remake the ride and have more than 2 models in the world. And there's currently 1 model, the original one, that I have pictured with here. That's at Telford Shopping Centre, which is in Shropshire. It's weird because very few people ask me, can you still do the voice? I'm like, well, I don't know. I think if I'm being honest with you, I'm not a fan of the voice that I did because it sounds quite bland and forced, but that's just how I took it at the time. But if I were given the chance to redo it, then I would give it a bit more enthusiasm. But I think they wanted like a less cartoony version of the voice. They wanted a more natural sounding voice. So I had to send in like 5 takes of me saying all these different lines. So there was like, Helly Tower, come in Tower, up, up, and away. Wow, I actually did that quite well. Rotor power, Helly to the rescue. It feels weird to hear it coming out of my mouth now because like when I first heard it on that ride, I was like, oh my god. I was like, and just hearing it because, well, I mean, now it doesn't feel weird because like I hear this voice coming out of my voice box. This is my larynx. Is that the thing in your throat? Yeah. So it doesn't sound weird anymore to me. It just sounds really natural that, oh yeah, that's your speaking voice, or no, you're just doing a really good impression of the person who's speaking on the ride. And I'm like, I beg to differ. And you saying about interviews, I'd like to bring up. Well, I did a really good one recently that you might have seen. One with a really good guest, Richard Horvitz.
Yes.
I dedicate that interview to you because we were both at the game that tune that he was at, and I was like, okay, I've got to get him on the show. And I did, and we had a great time. It was really fun.
Well, something that's kind of great actually. I will be this is going to date this podcast a little bit, but I will be going to Level Up Con. Actually, I'm flying out tomorrow as of recording this to go meet him. Yay! With my best friend. Yay! Yes, and this will be my second time meeting him as I accidentally met him while I was at LA Comic-Con last December.
How did you accidentally meet someone?
Okay, so what happened was at the con, I finished up what I was doing, which was taking pictures, and Maurice Lamarche, a friend of you and I say that very confidently, but
well, for me, not very confidently because I mean, we do follow it. He follows me back on Twitter, but I've never had him on my podcast. Maurice, if you're watching this, please come on my podcast. You've been one of my
But nonetheless, as someone who is aware that we both exist.
Everyone's a friend of mine. All voice actors are a friend of mine.
But either way, there was an event that was happening that wasn't promoted by the convention at all that starred a bunch of these voice actors, including the voice actors for Lilith from the Owl House, Maurice himself, and Richard Horvitz. They were all going to be coming in and doing this panel together. There was also the voice actress for Eep in the new Crude show, and the fellow that played Sonic from Sonic Frontiers. And there were more guests, unfortunately.
Oh, Roger Craig Smith.
Played Knuckles, I'm sorry. Played Knuckles, it wasn't Roger Craig Smith, I do apologize.
Dave B. Mitchell.
That's what it was. But basically they didn't do a lot of advertising for this, so I got up there really early because I saw it on Maurice's Instagram, and I got up there super early, and there is Richard Horvitz just standing in the hallway talking to everybody there. Just by himself, just talking to people. And I'm there with my mom, and I grab her like sleeve, and I'm like bouncing up and down, like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, this is amazing. This is Chaos from Skylanders. This is the villain of their favorite video game. So I'm having a blast, and then I just stand there waiting patiently, and someone just taps his shoulder, and he's like, I think a fan is here to see you, and I just go, hi, I liked your work in Skylanders.
Oh, you should have said Eliza.
Oh, he did. He did. As soon as I mentioned, as soon as I mentioned Game That Tune, which is a podcast that Rob Paulson and his son Ash, both of them voice actors, they do with a guest. He was like, "Oh my gosh, it is you! How was the theater program audition?" And I was so floored that he remembered at all.
Oh, that's so sweet.
But
was
it
that
was
before or after I interviewed him?
I believe that was about a week or so after.
Ah, right.
It was relatively recent.
Ah, right, I see.
But that's something that was really special to us, and I absolutely love the fact that we can both, like, be very excited about that kind of story.
Yeah.
And that's not just because, like, and it sounds dumb, it's not just because we're on the autism spectrum, it's because there is a connection involved with special interests that goes beyond just what we've been diagnosed with. And that's something that a lot of people don't always understand. And I want to share that with people. And that I picked people that I think would really bring that energy to it. And that's why I picked you, Amber, to be on the podcast. And I really, really thank you for it.
Well, I'm very flattered that you decided to choose me out of all the people you could have possibly thought of. We'll have to do a longer episode, I promise. I promise we'll do a longer episode at some point.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
We'll do a longer episode where I don't have to cut it short because of our time. But anyway, so thank you guys so much for joining me. This is Amber Jones. Where can they find you online?
Oh, sorry. Didn't hear you properly. My name's Amber the Fangirl on YouTube and Amber Leah X on Twitter and Instagram. So that's Amber. Then Leah is Leah, then with another H and then an X.
Well, we'll tag you and all that stuff. But thank you so much for joining us. This has been Animation on the Spectrum. You guys take care. Have a good one. Thank you so much for joining me, Amber. You were a delight.
You're welcome, Eliza. Anything for you.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me. And we will have another podcast coming out soon.
Yay. All right. Bye, guys. Bye, guys. Bye, guys.
Thank you, everyone.